We're prepping this bike to make this thing faster. We're dialing everything else we need to dial in this bike today to get this thing tuned. Gears, transmission, stretch this bike out. We need that RPM gauge today. Here's this RPM gauge. It is a Norxy tachometer right here. I already disassembled it to see what's in this kit. Everything is here, everything that we need, and that is gonna go right underneath this temp gauge that I already have right there. Boom, so we can read the RPM when we get to tune in the transmission. After we put in the gears, we need to know what RPMs we're hitting. Here it is. Also, no more flat tire. Turns out it was a bead leak this whole time. So I thought that was a piece of glass I was stuck in there, and there was in fact a piece of glass, but we took it off over at Scooter Tuners, flipped the wheel inside out, and seen there was no puncture in the tire. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? Bead leak, man. When these tires deflated over the winter time, it leaked out air from the bead and didn't lock in properly. So we took the tire off, put it on, re-beaded it, and she's good to go. No more flat tire issues. Today, tachometer day. Let's do this, baby. We're at Scooter Tuners. Busy day. We got 2 hours to do this. Let's get started. Well, we're about to get to work on this bike. We got the front end disassembled so we can get to the wiring back here. There's a temp gauge. Here's all the wiring for the temp gauge. What we're gonna do is we're gonna wire this RPM gauge to the wires on the temp gauge. That way when we hit the ignition, she just clicks on and turns on. The hard part is figuring out how these wires wire up to the spark plug. This is the sensor for the temp gauge, and you have to wrap this around your spark plug. Everything else makes sense to me, so that's why I'm at the shop right now. We're figuring out exactly what this is. He already knows the deal, but a customer came in here with a bike with a bad fuel pump. Brand new. This thing's got like 10 miles on it. Turns on, operates, quarter throttle, half throttle, full throttle, does what it's supposed to, come to a stop, it dies out. Brand new bike. I mean, this thing's got like 6 miles on it. Sorry, 9. Immediate bad fuel pump. So we're figuring out this right now. Hey, look at this. It's got the same grips as I do on that bike. Little bit of work done to it, nothing performance wise, but we're trying to dive into this. So when Dave comes back, we're gonna go ahead and get this bike started. All I want is this RPM gauge, baby. So essentially there are 3 parts to this tachometer here. You have the tachometer itself, you have the sensor right here, and you have the switch that turns it on and off. Gotta install it. I'm gonna keep it on because I'm gonna wire it to my ignition. But anyways, what we're doing here is we have the positive and negative cable going to the actual tachometer. We have the clip for the switch, and we have the sensor wire. So 3 different wires. Right here is the positive and negative that runs to this temp gauge already. So we're gonna splice the wire and connect this to that so they can be connected to the wires already in the temp sensor. And then of course we're gonna run this with the sensor all the way back to the plug, and this is really long, so I know that it's going to reach through this, but what we got to do is we got to drill a hole through this plastic to fit this gauge right here and feed this thick wire through. So we got to drill a hole in the plastic, and it just velcros on there. We're going to splice that positive negative and connect it to it. The hard part for me is figuring out what they want for this. So for the spark plug here, that's the cap. What it wants you to do is it wants you to wrap the sensor, which is right there, around the spark plug cap behind it on the wire. You know, I've never did this, and I never understood how that actually works. So this is where I'm getting Dave's help from, is because I don't understand the concept of that and what it exactly was. But I understand how everything else works, and we're about to dive into it right now. Got the sensor connected and plugged in down here, and if you follow the purple wire, I fed it through the bottom of this underneath here to come out back here like that, and we got it wrapped around. You can see it right here, it's purple, wrapped around simply the outside of the plastic rubber behind the plug. This is what they want. I don't know how this works. but this is what it is. And then you tape it with electrical tape, nice and tight, so you coil it around it. So that's where we're at. We're doing good. Got the switch mounted and installed. I had to drill the hole a little bit bigger than I wanted to because of this clip down here. I had to push it through the hole. So there's a hole, but you know what? That looks good. I still like that. Maybe I'll find something to cover it up a little bit. Good deal. So we didn't have to splice anything actually. I don't know this stuff. I'm not an electrician, I'm learning as I go. But there is that red connecting box, and this is the existing positive wire right here. So we took the positive wire that goes to the RPM gauge now, and we connected it together. What I did is I fed both wires into this box, just like this cable stop right here. I fed both through, and there is a metal pin in there, a metal slide that pushes down and connects them together so that they share the same power. So I did that to the positive right here. Now we got to do the negative. Almost done. This is the last thing, man. All right, we got that positive and negative taken care of. If you look over here, you can see them both chilling. Positive, negative. I'm gonna wrap that up a little bit better. Hypothetically speaking, this should work. I got it wired up to my ignition, click the ignition on. Bam. Bam, baby. Look at that. Temp gauge on, tachometer on. What happens when you press this? Oh, it changes. Interesting. I don't know what that means, but I know what that means because it ain't running. Sweet. Now time to put it back together, good to go. Everything is zip tied and tucked away, nice and neat. No rubbing, no loose wires chilling. So now all we gotta do is put that front housing back on, plug in the headlight, and that's it, we're done. All right, let's see if she works. Sitting at 0 right now with the bike off, of course. Yeah, buddy. 460 RPM at idle. Damn, this is cool. Temperature, 77 degrees. At about 460 RPM. Hell yeah, hell yeah. It works. Looks like a goddamn race bike now. So what this is gonna do is this is going to unlock the fine tuning when we get into that transmission. When we start tuning that transmission, we're going to start looking at the numbers and getting the highest RPM that we can get. Dude, shout out to Brandon. Thank you so much, Brandon. If it was not for you, dude, this would not be happening. And this is awesome. This is so cool. This bike is race ready now. 448, I can see exactly what it's at. That is so cool. All right, here's this thing running. So, I don't know if it's exactly accurate, but check this out. Basically, it maxes out at about 1600. Now, that's not right. If I'm at full speed, 1700, there's no way it's turning over 1,600 times. But as well, it says times 10 down here. So if you take 1600 times 10, that's 16,000 RPM. Ain't no way it's 16,000 RPM. So I got to do some research and talk to buddies about how to get this thing right, because it just don't seem right. But it does work, so that's pretty cool. Just not accurate quite yet. So she works. This does work. It's not exactly accurate yet because there's no way I'm turning 16,000 RPM at top speed. But that's not too difficult. I'll make sure that it's grounded correctly. I'll make sure that coil is wrapped around correctly. I'll do some research and figure that out. But it does work, and I'm really happy about that. It's done. But if you follow my shorts, you can see that I found some gears, dude. I found some gears for this bike. I didn't think they existed. I was looking at CPI gears, Yamaha jaw gears, bikes that are similar to this one, and I wasn't quite sure. But coming across the page at partsforscooters.com, they came through for this bike too. I found top speed gears. 20% increase in overall gear ratio up. So it's gonna lose some acceleration, but whatever, we're gonna gain top speed. The build order for this bike was to build the motor, hit the gears, and then get the trans done. The motor's completely built from top to bottom with the intake system and the pipe. That's set, right? Throw some gears up in there, see where she sits at, and then dig into the transmission with the clutch and variator and all that fun stuff. You want to tune your bike around the power that it has. That is the key to success, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. So those are coming Wednesday. I'm super pumped up about that. This is hooked up. I gotta figure out the small details. Tow's still running great as ever, dude. And there's some transmission plans for this bike right here. I did not forget about her. We're gonna order a heavy kit, heavy kit for this bike right here. Definitely plans. Summertime is here, I'm here, the bikes are here. Till next time, guys, thank you for watching so much.
Peace.